getting worse. Our exploratory diving bell.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Derek Ruby Show. I am your host, the previously mentioned Mr. Ruby, and this is my spoiler-free review of Justice League. So when it comes to DC movies, they're not always on point, but if you want to know if the Justice League is worth going to see, the short answer is yes. The Justice League surprisingly has a lot of good points about it. For one thing, I actually cared about the characters in this movie, so it was very easy for me to get behind them and follow them throughout the story. The other good point about this movie is the story was not too complicated, and Steppenwolf as a villain, while he was an odd choice, he actually works out pretty well. I also appreciate all the little things that this movie had to offer. There are a lot of callbacks to previous DC movies, including themes throughout DC's entire cinematic existence. Flash does an excellent job. When you see Wonder Woman on screen, it feels like you're watching the Wonder Woman movie, which is still the best DC movie that's come out so far. Ben Affleck does a pretty good job as Batman. Superman is done very well. I like Aquaman. I like the new Cyborg. He is just perfect for the role. So overall, we have a brand new cast of characters that we can sink our teeth into. If you go to these superhero movies to see action, this movie will not leave you disappointed. The action scenes are strong and they're very well paced, and they give you just enough of them to keep your interest throughout the entire movie. Now I would like to say that I thought the cinematography was good, but there was a definite overuse of CG. My buddy Garth, shout out to him by the way, pointed this out to me before I saw the movie, and I completely agree. It seems like the entire thing, at least 90%, was CG. I would have liked to have just a little bit more real locations and just a few things, but overall it doesn't ruin the movie. I do think most of the effects look really good. However, I do think the Flash looks a little funny sometimes, but that might just be me comparing it to X-Men's Quicksilver. This movie was able to execute DC's subtle humor. Sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. Sometimes I heard the whole theater laugh, and then there were some times I heard crickets. But luckily they weren't constantly trying to throw jokes throughout the movie to make them stick to the wall as if it was Marvel, so it was fine. Not everything you write's going to be a winner. If I had any major complaints about the movie, I would say that the climactic battle at the end was pretty decent but a little bit lackluster, but not enough to ruin the movie. And one of the strong points about this movie is it didn't drag on. I never looked at my watch to see what time it was, and the pacing just flowed very well. So I actually feel that DC's turned a corner on this ever since they released Wonder Woman, and while this movie's not as good, it's definitely passable and it's worth a watch. So if you're a fan of Justice League and DC Comics, you won't be disappointed, and if you're a casual fan, I don't think you'll be disappointed either. So I would definitely recommend that you go see this. You'll have a good time and it's going to be enjoyable. So I'm going to give Justice League 4 stars. So thank you guys for listening to the Derek Ruby Show. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. And as always, have a good one, and I'll see you guys next time. So I actually feel that DC's turned a corner on this ever since they released Wonder Woman, and while this movie's not as good, it's definitely passable and it's worth a watch.